Hey guys, so when I'm making my lessons, like the PowerPoints or the slides or whatever, I always listen to music while I do it. It helps me get focused and get through and kind of like groove while I'm making these. But I was listening to Rockstar by DaBaby and immediately thought about how that song is going to connect to our lesson today. If you listen to Rockstar, you will hear something that we'll talk about called polyrhythm. So you'll actually hear multiple rhythms having at the same time. So for instance, in Rockstar, it's like dun 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 dun, and then underneath that, every once in a while you hear a dun 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 dun, and those are happening at the same time. And so it's polyrhythm. Well, polyrhythmic drumming started all the way in West Africa hundreds of years ago, and we still use it today. And we hear it today in the music that we love every day. So we're going to talk about that today. So students will be able to describe the religion and legacy. Sorry, the Y got covered by the continent of West Africa. We've got a do now, some notes, some practice. Same old thing, like normal. Today is National Hat Day. Um, and pick out your favorite hat and wear it. All right, so you can't see number 5 on the screen, but you obviously can see it on yours. Um, but you are just going to look at this map of Central America and answer the questions. You do not need complete sentences. Go ahead and pause. All right, so what makes this a political map? I see boundaries, those boundary lines. This takes us all the way back to the beginning of the year, so this is definitely review to keep that in your head. So we see border boundary lines. We see cities labeled, capitals labeled. We don't really see, like, there's no bodies of water labeled. It's just sticking with the land. The countries that you see here would be Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Carla, Costa Rica. I wrote Honduras again. I don't know why, sorry. Nicaragua and Panama. Number 3, does the map show the capital of each area? And how many are shown? Yes, and there are 7. You just look for the stars and count them. Number 3, does the map show the capital of each area and how many are shown? Yes. Oh, sorry, I read the wrong one. Does the map show any other cities? How many? Yes, 3. So you're going to look for the solid dots. And then is Managua the capital of Nicaragua? So I'm going to find Nicaragua. And that is actually yes. So I'm going to fix that. My fault. Oops. So you can go ahead and fix that. We've got some notes and then I have some kind of fun stuff that you can do on your own. I don't want to like make the video forever and have it like this. But oral tradition, this is oral history told in poems, stories to teach and entertain. Just that we saw that in Digging for the Truth when we saw the griot telling the story to music, and that was their history. So it's oral tradition, things that aren't written down. A proverb is a wise saying. And polyrhythmic drumming is drumming or music that combines 2 or more rhythms at the same time. So you can go ahead and pause and get those down. All right, here are some proverbs. And as I kind of read through these, I'd like you to pick one and just like dissect it and tell me what it means. So our first one is from Ghana. It is better to be a lion for a day than a sheep all your life. So if you pick that one, tell me what that means in everyday life for people. One falsehood spoils 1,000 truths. No matter how many times you wash a goat, it will still smell like a goat. When an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. Examine what is said, not who is speaking. So I'd like you to pick one, and I would like you to tell me what it means for us, for daily life. So here are some videos that typically we would watch in class when we were together. There's three of them. One is a trio of guys that are doing polyrhythm, but they have no instruments. They're only using their body to make these rhythms, and they are singing at the same time. So each person is doing a different rhythm. You have old African polyrhythms, so this is going to be this you have an African drummer and then you have a um, contemporary drummer with a drum set, but they're doing polyrhythm. And then, if you like, if this interests you, the last link takes you to a site that offers, you can learn, you can have some African drumming lessons. So they'll just teach you some of the basics, which is really, really cool. When we're in classroom, we usually do a couple on our use our desks. So we have some practice with religions first. A great diversity of ethnic groups populated West Africa. Although Islam and Christianity were practiced to a great extent in early Africa, some people followed traditional religions. These traditional religions shared some common characteristics. Many African religions had religious leaders to guide prayers, and followers prayed on a daily basis. Most traditional religions also involved religious rituals and promoted the honoring of ancestors. Many Muslims also practiced rituals and ancestor worship. People engaged the gods on a daily basis. They attended shrines to pray, get advice, and make offerings. Religious officials helped people communicate with the gods. Rituals reinforced the social and moral values represented by the gods. Following religious teachings helped keep society functioning smoothly. Africans honored their ancestors. Upon death, they believed a person became a spirit and joined the spirits of ancestors. Some families created shrines for their ancestors so that they could remain in touch with them. Rituals and spiritual mediums helped some people seek ancestors' help with their problems, much like the gods. So, for number one, you can go ahead and pause and answer number 1, 2, and 3. You have, how does a diversity of groups affect religious practice? How do rituals help society function smoothly? And how did West Africans honor their ancestors? So you can go ahead and pause. So for number 1, how does a diversity of groups affect religious practice? So you have all these different groups that believe different things. What is that going to mean for religious practice in an area? So, I mean, it's kind of, if you overthink it, you're probably not going to find the answer I'm looking for. But what this does is diversity. Ooh, I'm yelling it. Diversity. Diversity causes people to worship in different ways. So you think about diversity of groups. So like in one street, you could have a Christian living next to someone who is Jewish, living next to someone who is Muslim. You just have a diversity of religions on that particular street, and these people are all going to practice a little bit differently. How do rituals help society function smoothly? Basically, so thinking about, you have people, here we say, rituals keep society functioning smoothly because groups people are the same and can predict what people will do. So, for example, when we talked about Islam, they pray 5 times a day. Well, every Muslim knows that they're going to pray 5 times a day. So they kind of predict what's going to happen because there are set times to pray. So it kind of, you say you're not Muslim, like I'm not. So I say, oh, I want to meet my friend that's Muslim for lunch at like noon. Well, noon may be a prayer time. If I know that, then I know I can't schedule a lunch at noon because she's not going to be available. Number 3, how did West Africans honor their ancestors? You're going to find that in this last paragraph here where it says honoring ancestors. So, West Africans created shrines to keep in contact with their ancestors. We also see this, like, no, this is all the time, but we also see this with El Dia de los Muertos, where shrines are set up for ancestors of the family. All right, so you're going to be working with just the legacy. What do we have today? What has been left behind from West Africa? And then you have these 5 multiple choice questions that will be graded. So you want to make sure that you don't just blow this page off. And it does involve some questions from yesterday's lesson too, like what is caste, that type of thing. What's an ethnic group? All right, so you finish Friday. Once you get there, just make sure you're checking your checklist, make sure you submit, don't forget to fill out the attendance form, all of that stuff. And have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Enjoy the long weekend. Be safe too. Be safe. I mean it. Sunday might be rough, so be safe.